Welcome to Module 3 of the Competent Benefits Manager course. In this session, we're going to talk about the tools and techniques associated with profiling benefits. By this stage, you should have already set your benefits management's context. So you've got a strategy, you know what's important to you, you know how you're going to measure things, and you should have some alignment to your strategic objectives of the organization. And you've probably got a long list of benefits that you're wondering what to do with, because you'll have completed the identify phase and come up with all the possible scenarios. So now we're going to think about profiling. We're also going to talk about planning, but that's going to be in a later module. So what do we need to think about? There's a whole range of stuff that we need to think about at the moment. So we need to understand cause and effect. And so for you people that are comfortable with risk, you're going to increasingly spot the risk and benefits are similar, but they're mirror images of each other, because generally when we talk about benefits, we're talking about positive things, and generally when we're talking about risk, we're talking about threats. I know that opportunity risk is in there as well, and one of the things you need to decide is, when does an opportunity become a benefit? Because there's no hard rules for bridging the two disciplines. So we need to think about cause and effect, things that need to happen to make things change, identify internal and external dependencies, particularly in a complex program, which is including socioeconomic benefits, or if you're working in a multi-organization environment. Tells the story of the journey to benefits realization. You know, that's what we use benefits mapping for, and we're going to have a quick look at that in this video. We need detailed descriptions. We put those into the benefits profiles, and some risk analysis. How likely is it that we think it's going to happen? And we're going to talk about that. We've got categorization and prioritization. Yeah, there's a multitude of potential benefits. How do you group them all together? And where are we going to get the biggest bangs for our bucks? Yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean that we spend the least to get the most. Sometimes the biggest returns require more money, and that could be driving your business case. And then the extent of business change, the bigger the change, the more complex it is, the less likely it is to be delivered. All right, so let's move forward. So first of all, let's look at this profiling of relationships. In the identification phase, we were looking at how strategic objectives drive what we think about in terms of benefits. We've then got to think about those outcomes, those areas where we think we can find savings. So in this little example, we're saying, right, okay, well, if we hunt down the service improvement, we can see some process rationalization coming into it. Yeah, so that actually means we can give better services to our clients faster, and actually we can see some potential benefits from there, because if we deliver it faster, more automated, we can produce some cash saving potentially. We may even reduce the number of people involved. That doesn't mean to say we have to get rid of those people, because we could reuse them in another place. There we go, you can see it in the diagram now. Yep, so the service improvement, the outcomes we need are staff utilization improvements or process rationalization, and then the measurement will be the amount we spend on staff and the amount of staff effort that we're using. So you can then see that, you can see how the measurement becomes more tangible as you move through outcomes. Now, one of the things that we've noticed over the years is when people are struggling to find a measurement, it's quite often because they're calling an outcome a benefit. Process rationalization isn't a benefit. Staff utilization, none of those things are benefit unless you move towards the benefits measurement on the right hand side, so you can show what's going to be better. Then you can put a number on it and a financial value. Okay, right. So here's the benefits model, which shows how we move from outcomes to benefits. And this is a really important concept. So on the left, we've got the new system goes live. So whatever it is, let's just talk about a sausage factory. We've got a sausage factory, it goes live. The benefits of greater profitability are not achieved on the next day. Yeah, you don't go live on a Friday and get the benefits the following Friday. It takes time, and there'll be incremental improvements as you go along. So here we go, we've got this new fabulous sausage making machine. Yeah, initially we get fewer breakdowns, and we get some faster processing. Yep, so we can start to produce more. But actually, faster processing doesn't help unless the whole supply chain is ready. We've got better raw ingredients and things around our distributions can cope. So in those early days, we may be sticking to 5 widgets or sausages per hour, and it might take us 18 months to get up to the 15. But each time we get some new benefits, we get staff morale, that increases because the machine's not breaking down. So they get their bonuses for productivity, so they're happy. They used to get really fed up with the machine breaking down. There we get better staff retention. Yeah, and from better staff retention, we have less training, so we've got improved continuity. And what, because they stay, we don't have to keep recruiting new ones. So we've got lower recruitment costs, okay? Better staff retention, helps us with increased productivity, faster processing, less downtime, less damaged raw materials, fewer rejects. This, and also we got lower maintenance costs. We got rid of the old mechanical machine, and now we've got a digitally driven machine. And all of these feed us through to better profitability. So when we're looking for benefits, we understand the model, and each one of those steps creates a benefit to us in some way, and we can probably put a financial value on it, which is the main measurement of a benefit. Ultimately, if you can't measure it, it's not a benefit, but we'll come back to that later. I'd just like to bring us back to the 3 E's that we've talked about on earlier slides. Now, here we've got economic measures, efficiency measures, and effectiveness measures. And as you can see, we can take an outcome by process improvement and find some better measures for it. So economic measures. Okay, so our processes aren't very good. We need to supplement the poor process with temporary staff. From the supply chain, we can find an economic measure of we can reduce our use of our dependency on external staff by just being more efficient. So we've got an economic measure there. We're not having to, we're better use of our money because we're keeping it internal rather than actually spending it externally. Better efficiency, yeah, less people are involved because the process is now better defined. Everybody understands their role, and we've taken some chunks and steps out of the process. And effectiveness, as a result of the process being improved, we have less failures, we have less complaints. So you can see how the 3 E's can give us different benefits from an outcome. And this is always a good way to go hunting where our benefits are. The use of the 3 E's works equally as well when we're talking about socio-economic outcomes. So in this case, we're talking about increased renewable energy production. So from an effective point of view, we have reduced dependency on carbon technology. We have savings from health damage caused by pollution. We can see efficiency measures because resources are used in a more effective way, and we can save money because ultimately natural resources are cheaper. So we can use efficiency in there, and economic. We're spending less money on jobs in the wrong sector, or from a socio-economic basis, we're creating more jobs in a sector that we don't have already. So we're boosting the economy in that way. So in this one, we're using the economy in a broader sense. And of course, we're avoiding penalty payments from not reaching international carbon emission targets. So you can see there, we can use it in both scenarios. When we are assessing risks to benefits, we need to think about it in 3 or 4 ways. We need to think about how certain are we that this benefit is going to turn up. Yeah, if we say it's worth 100 grand, is that a guess? Do we know it's worth 100 grand? Could it be worth 120 grand? Or is it actually going to be worth 70 grand? So it's better to actually think in terms of, well, the full value of this could be a bigger figure, but we're only confident that we're going to produce 80% or 70% of that figure, because then we can take actions to increase the likelihood. So when we're thinking about the certainty of it, we're talking about likelihood. Talking about the value, as I've just said, we might think it's going to be 100 grand, but could it be 150? Because then we can start building up our business case. We need to understand the dependencies. So we are seeing a benefit coming through. Are we dependent on things outside our program, or even worse, outside our organization? So we need the industry to do something to enable us to happen. That reduces the likelihood and increases the complexity and increases the risk. Stakeholders, yeah, if the stakeholders are not on board, they're going to resist, and that again will increase our risk, particularly when we're talking about business change, or if you're looking at dependencies and your dependency on stakeholders who are not supportive, then it isn't going to happen. Think about the third runway at Heathrow. Yeah, the amount of stakeholder resistance to that third runway has delayed it for years and years and years, which means the benefits are delayed for years and years and years. And then we've got to think about complexity. This is a major thing. How complex is the organizational change that is needed to deliver this? If you're delivering change in one directorate, then maybe it's not so bad. But when it's cross-cutting across numerous directorates, it gets much more difficult. Lots of the digital systems where organizations went online and put up ordering systems, they went wrong because the whole system wasn't addressed. They'd get orders coming in that they couldn't process. In fact, they went from benefits to actually major organizational disasters. So we've got to think about the risks of achieving that benefit. Let's think about the categorization. So you could end up with 5, 10, 15 risks, different types of benefits. We need to group them together in some ways. Okay, I know if you read MSP, it says they all have a benefits profile, but then you're just looking at them separately when they're almost certainly interlinked. So some ways we might categorize them. Timescale, when do we think they're going to turn up? If you're on a 5-year program, what's going to turn up in the first year, the third year, the fifth year? How are they going to play into this environment that you're working in? The financial impact, we're going to have some benefits that are cashable, some benefits that are not cashable. So being really clear, when you say it's worth 100,000, is it 100,000 pounds in cash, or is it 100,000 pounds of potential effort that you can't cash in but you could use somewhere else? Really difficult, because you put up a business case that it's going to be worth 5 million. Where's that 5 million coming from? It's very difficult. If you look at something like the UK High Speed 2, financial impact of High Speed 2, you can see where a huge amount of money is being spent, but nearly all the benefits are non-cashable, as far as I can see. Categorizes stakeholder impact. If all these changes are hitting operations, or they're hitting the supply chain, or they're hitting somebody else, you're going to get stakeholder resistance, or if they're going through lots of change, they're going to get burnt out with change. So thinking about where these benefits are coming from and the effect it will have on them. Value types, this is the 3 E's, are they economic, efficiency, or effective? Corporate objectives, which corporate objectives are your various benefits feeding into? In some ways, this gives you a bit of a get out of jail free card, because if you're delivering primarily to legal compliance, you don't really have to produce financial benefits for this. And in fact, we've seen, particularly in the public sector, quite a lot of the benefits are neither cashable or non-cashable. The benefits are actually the avoidance of bad things happening to the economy or the health of the nation. All right. If we think about investment in pandemics post-COVID, it will be around avoidance of pandemics in the future, and that will probably have a very big figure on it that nobody will ever challenge. So we've got to think about objectives. And then the overall risk profile, how likely is it to happen? Because you don't want to have a program that's going to deliver only high risk benefits. You need to have a balance of benefits in your portfolio of benefits, for want of a better term. This is a wonderful thing called the DONE test. It's the minimum requirements you'd expect to find in a benefits profile. And it's amazing how effective it is at reducing the numbers of things that you're calling benefits. So in simple terms, you should be able to describe it. You should be able to explain what you will see that is different. In some ways, that is outcomes. You will be able to attribute it to one or two or three people by name who are going to make it happen, and you're going to have some measurement to prove it has happened. All right, so we call it the DOME test, and if we take an example, maybe a public sector one, safer communities, what needs to be in place to make those communities safer? Is it more police? Is it to do with traffic? What is it that you have to remove that's causing the danger? And attribute it. Who's got to deliver it? Is it the police, the fire service? Is it local government? Is it something from central government? Who is got their name on the can for delivering it, and how you're going to measure it? Is it crime reduction? Is it graffiti? Is it accidents? Is it pollution? Is it public health? What is it that you're going to measure to prove that you've delivered that benefit? Okay, so always remember the DOME test. It's one of the most important things. Okay, we've come to the end of another module. Good luck with working your way through the exercises and the additional information that we've given you. I really hope you're applying this to your own workplace scenario, testing it out, and I really hope that you're actually making improvements already in the way your organisation works. Time for a cup of coffee, and I'll see you at the next module.